Hey, Steve, guess what's going on next week? No, it's Christmas! You know what I need? I need my sweater. Gotta get my freaking Christmas sweater. Ugh. So, Steve, you know what Christmas is all about, right? Is it about the family? Is it about your friends? Is it about the amazing food that you get? No, screw that crap. It's all about the gifts. And what better place to get gifts than Five Below? Am I right? So everybody who goes Christmas shopping usually goes to places like Best Buy, Target, Walmart, wherever, and one of the more popular places for a lot of people to go is Five Below. So naturally during my Christmas shopping, I ended up going to none other than Five Below, and guess who I ran into? I ran into Bugha. No, I didn't run into Bugha himself, but I did find his illustrious streaming and PC gear. So naturally, of course, I couldn't leave the store without buying everything. Whoops. So naturally, in my infinite content creation wisdom, I thought it would be a great idea to buy all of these peripherals and do a tech reviews video, because a lot of you guys may be considering buying something like this for your kids or yourself if you're a big Bugha fan, I don't know. And they're all about $10 a piece, so you're probably thinking in your brain, man, $10, that means they can't be good. But don't take these things at face value. You may be surprised based on my thoughts at the end of this video. Oh, and for added flavor, I'm gonna do a review on these notorious big honey jalapeno chips as well at the end of the video. Let's get into it. What's going on, guys? Max here, and welcome to a special Christmas edition of Tech Reviews. In this series, I buy a lot of different types of tech, from relevant things to maybe things you haven't heard of. I do some thorough testing on it, and then I give you my opinions on whether you should buy it or not. I just want to say up front here that I have no idea who this Bugha guy is. I literally have only heard about him from a few people in my Twitch chat, as well as just some miscellaneous things. I know that he is a Fortnite champion or some crap. That really makes me sound like a boomer. I should not have said that. So like I said, I found all these things at Five Below, and they're all exclusive to Five Below, so that's the only place you can get them. And if you don't know anything about Five Below, or if you don't have one in your area, basically a lot of the things in there are $5 and lower. There are some exceptions to that, like some electronics such as these streaming peripherals. They're all about $10 a piece, but for the most part, everything in the store is $5 or less. So in total, there are 7 different pieces to this peripheral set. There's the headset stand, the mouse pad, the microphone, the keyboard, as well as some speakers. I did not actually buy the speakers. I didn't really feel like they were relevant to what I was trying to review, because I was trying to focus on peripherals just for your PC. And if you want to get the speakers, they are available as well for the $10 price. So how I conducted these tests is I bought all the peripherals, I unboxed everything on stream. You can follow me over at twitch.tv/RealFloc. And I ended up using them for the entirety of that live stream. I also did some things like some light video editing, played some competitive shooters, as well as some more Cyberpunk offline. Just in general, I wanted to use them in a lot of different situations, so that way I could get a good idea for how they actually feel in multiple scenarios. So how I decided to structure this particular video is I decided to do a 1 through 5 ranking system, as well as talk about some of my negatives and positives of each item. And then I'm gonna give an overall grade for the entire set. So the first thing we're gonna talk about is the headset, and the headset is obviously gonna be wired with a little dongle to control the volume, as well as it's got a ton of RGB, so if you're into that, there's RGB everywhere. Some other notable things is the fact that it is pretty plasticky. It does bend pretty easily, so it does have some flexibility, I guess. And the main thing to keep in mind with these is that they're really shallow. So your ears, for me, I mean, maybe it's different if I was younger, but my ears are literally pressed right against the speaker part, and it's a little uncomfortable during long play sessions. So the connections for this headset is pretty straightforward. You got your standard audio plugins for your computer, as well as there's a USB plug-in for the RGB. It's good because you can unplug that if you don't want the RGB on for whatever reason, but it's all pretty straightforward. Overall, I'd give these a 3 out of 5 ranking. I mean, for me personally, just because my ears are a little bigger, they're not the most comfortable to wear for long-term use. And the microphone's a freaking headset microphone. You can't really ask much more than that. And overall, for $10, like I said, these are not bad. They're just not my favorite thing out of everything I use so far in the set. So the next thing is actually my personal favorite thing of the entire set, and that's gonna be the headphone stand. And you're probably wondering why the headphone stand is my favorite thing of all things. And it's not because of the dope RGB on here. I mean, I could honestly do without it. It's because it has 4 USB slots right on the front of the headphone stand. Yes, they're 2.0, I totally understand that, but a lot of things don't really need a 3.0 slot, and the versatility you get from just having this is so nice, because I find myself needing USB slots all the time. I've got tons of extra USB things next to my computer, and having one on my headphone stand for things like USB thumb drives, or maybe even like an Xbox controller adapter, so that way I can have that on there, not have to have it in my PC or whatever, is really nice. And I honestly love this headphone stand for $10. So honestly, I'm gonna have to give this headphone stand a 5 out of 5. That sounds absolutely ridiculous for me to give a headphone stand a 5 out of 5, considering I don't give anything else a 5 out of 5 in this video, spoiler alert. But I'm probably gonna use this thing even after this video, because this little top part actually pops off and I can just use the USB port. So I'm gonna take full advantage of this thing. So let's move away from all the headphone stuff, and we're gonna talk about all the stuff that's gonna be in front of you, starting with the mouse pad. You're gonna be seeing some better B-roll footage of the mouse pad in use, but it's actually a pretty standard RGB mouse pad. The pretty cool thing about this is the fact that you can change the color option to whatever you want. I mean, I'm not really familiar with RGB mouse pads. I never really had one before, but with this one particularly, you can switch from the whole spectrum of colors that are available with RGB, such as green, red, whatever. There's over 12 colors combinations you can choose from, as well as just having it on a super fast RGB mode as well as a slower RGB mode. Just there's a ton of versatility in terms of the color option. The material is not overall too bad. I mean, it's pretty standard for mouse pads that I've used in the past. I mean, it glides pretty good with the mouse. It's not been too bad to use. So overall, I'm gonna give this mouse pad a 3 out of 5. It's nothing flashy. I mean, it's all right. I'm just not personally a big fan of RGB mouse pads because I don't like the extra wires. But if you are, this is actually not a bad buy. So if you go to Five Below and see one, you might want to buy it because it doesn't have any other markings or anything on it. So it's really, if you didn't know it was a Bugha mouse pad, it has no markings saying it's a Bugha mouse pad. So the next thing we're going to be looking at is the very, very large keyboard. First, some perspective, right now I'm using the Logitech G915 10 keyless keyboard, and that thing is tiny compared to this keyboard. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing, it's just that personally I've gotten so used to using a smaller keyboard that going back to a full keyboard, and honestly this one feels much larger than a full keyboard, is definitely a little bit of an adjustment. So this keyboard does have a little bit of a bend to it. You can kind of see it bending back and forth here, as well as it's not mechanical. I mean, what would you expect for $10? But honestly, this keyboard does not feel that bad for it not being mechanical and it also being so cheap. My biggest gripe with this keyboard goes back to the fact that it is so big and bulky. So when you're sitting here on your desk, I mean, it sits so high even with the legs down that it ends up hurting your wrist after a while. So the grade I would give this keyboard is a 3 out of 5. I feel like it's middle of the road. It's nothing flashy. It's not mechanical. It's not gonna be anything that's going to be groundbreaking, but it's a keyboard. It works, it gets the job done. So out of everything that I just talked about and everything that I'm going to talk about in just a second, the mouse is probably the most interesting thing in the bunch. So like I said, you're gonna be seeing some B-roll of this mouse, but from my perspective, it seems like that out of everything they spent the most money on when designing all of these things, the mouse is what they took the most time on. So just some basic stats of the mouse. It is a little bit on the heavier side. It weighs about 100 grams. As well as it has a DPI adjuster that goes between 1200 and 7200, as well as it has 2 additional macro buttons here on the side, as well as the click wheel and everything basic that you would get with the mouse as well. Overall, I don't really have much bad to say about the mouse. I mean, it's not my favorite thing compared to the headset stand because that has so much versatility, but if I had to use this mouse, I would be fine with it. No, you're not going to want to use this mouse for high-end Fortnite gameplay competitively or anything, but if you're just using it for everyday use or some basic gaming or RPGs or something, I mean, you can honestly get by with this mouse for $10. I honestly think that this is a great value. Honestly, I'm gonna have to go out on a limb here because I honestly did zero research on any of these peripherals before because I wanted to give a genuine opinion, but I did hear the mouse was the weakest thing in the bunch. But truthfully, after my experience, I would have to give this mouse a 4.5 out of 5 just because it's honestly not bad. I mean, like, I don't see what the problem is. I mean, I would use this thing if I had nothing else. So I honestly saved the worst for last, and I really mean that because we're gonna talk about the weird microphone now. I really can't express this enough. This is by far my least favorite thing of the bunch. I mean, the one thing I guess it has going for it is it has plenty of RGB. I mean, it matches everything else. So overall, having your microphone on your desk is inherently bad. I mean, if you have nothing else and you're trying to just stream and just get by, having your microphone on your desk will work, but it's got to be really elevated to get close to your mouth. Out of the box, this microphone's gain is very low, so you're gonna have to go into whatever software you're using for streaming, such as OBS or anything like that, and you're gonna have to add a gain filter to be able to increase the gain enough for your stream to be able to hear you. Scale of 1 to 5. On a scale of 1 to 5, how bad does this sound? Sounds so far away. All right, so I need to get this microphone closer to my mouth. Can you hear me now? All right, so I need to find a way to get the microphone right in front of my mouth. -1. You need a mic like E-Rock. So truthfully, I would just save your money on this and stick with the headset mic. No, the headset mic is not great if you have nothing else, but at the same time, I wouldn't waste $10 on this because it's more of a hassle than it needs to be. And this is gonna get the lowest score of a 1 out of 5. So what are my final thoughts on all this Bugha PC peripheral gear? Honestly, for $60 in total that I spent on all this, it's really not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. For me personally, I'm not gonna switch all my gear to Bugha gear, but at the same time, if I was a parent and I had a kid that wanted to get a PC and I spent all my money on the PC, having $60 worth of peripherals for them to use would be very convenient because it's very expensive to buy peripherals these days. You probably would spend $200–300 just to get starter stuff for your kid. So why not save all that money and get this Bugha stuff because it works very well for the price. At the end of the day, this is targeted at kids and teens. So for what they're trying to do, for the price they're trying to do it at, I would have to give this set a total of 3 out of 5 because it surprised me for how well it worked for the price. And honestly, it was about what I expected in some areas, but honestly, it surpassed my expectations in some areas as well. Definitely leave a comment down below letting me know what you guys thought was most surprising about these peripherals, as well as if you've bought any of these. Let me know what your thoughts are on your experiences using them. Also, feel free to come check out the stream. We do stuff like the unboxing I told you about when I'm testing out new peripherals, as well as we play games and do a bunch of stuff as well. Oh crap, I forgot about this. I'm gonna be looking at these Notorious Big chips real quick because I was in line to buy the peripherals and I was like, I like Notorious Big, why don't I try his chips? Oh yeah, easily a 10 out of 10. These things are good. Woo! Seriously, these are a 10 out of 10. If you go to Five Below and you don't buy any Bugha stuff, definitely make sure you buy these Notorious Big chips. But all right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys have a very Bugha Christmas. See you next time. So I'm gonna shove all my stuff to the back here, so turn off my keyboard for now. So anyway, so we're gonna be using the keyboard now. So Bugha's keyboard. This is actually kind of fun. It's like Christmas. The cats are going freaking bananas, dude. They're like, what the heck is going on? So if the camera shakes, I'm sorry. I'm gonna make